Well, something big is happening, and the BRICS nations are holding an emergency meeting right now in Brazil to deal with it. Russian President Putin, China's Xi Jinping are attending this meeting, and the focus, we're told, is the BRICS response to Trump's tariffs and sanctions, and most importantly, the threat to their new multipolar order, moving away from the SWIFT system. The U.S. doesn't like that. The West doesn't like that. Remember, just last week in China, Putin, Modi, and Xi laid out their new plans for a multipolar world order. They're basically done with the U.S. dollar and the SWIFT system and so much more. But something else is on Putin's mind. What happens to the $37 trillion debt that the United States is currently sitting on right now? Well, this weekend, Russia started sounding the alarm about what the United States is going to do with all of that debt. Russia says America is going to push everyone into crypto using a stablecoin strategy scheme, which we've covered here over the past 2 years on this show, and then devalue the currency once everyone is moved over to this stablecoin structure. Watch this. This is in Russian, but I'll read it out loud. The U.S. is now trying to rewrite the rules of the gold and cryptocurrency markets. Remember the size of their debt, 35 trillion. It's actually 37, but these two sectors, gold and crypto, are essentially alternatives to the traditional global currency system. Washington's actions in this area clearly highlight one of its main goals: to urgently address the declining trust in the dollar. As in the 1930s and 70s, the U.S. plans to solve its financial problems at the world's expense. This time by pushing everyone into the crypto cloud. Over time, once part of the U.S. national debt is placed into stable coins, Washington will devalue that debt. Well, we've been warning about that for over a year now on this show. Dr. Kirk Elliott has been sounding the alarm for a while now about what's coming. This is an existential moment right now for the U.S. dollar. So, you got to watch people when that's an existential threat. Dr. Elliott, great to have you here on the show finally. Welcome.
Well, it's great to be with both of you. Thanks for having me on.
Our pleasure. So what is your, first of all, I want to get your take, first of all, on this BRICS emergency meeting. We're hearing a lot of blustering from the White House. We're hearing a lot of back and forth right now and this movement away from the SWIFT system. So why this emergency meeting, and what does it portend for us?
Well, when you look at why they're doing it, is because Trump is actually being successful in a lot of his tariffs, right? If you look at the Chinese exports to America, they're down 33% since the tariff started. So it's like, who is China in the world and who is America? China is the supplier. America is the consumer. So if you're the supplier, you have to have demand. So they're getting ticked, right? It's like a rabid dog backed into a corner, and they're going to start blustering, saying, we need to safeguard multilateralism, defend fairness and justice, promote common development, right? Everything which are the buzzwords to the globalized community, right? However, has China ever acted that way before? It's like, no, in action, they don't act like that. But so what's interesting is when you look at what today Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson Ling Zhan said, and let's listen to this quote. I'm just going to repeat it. Say, China stands ready to work with other parties to further act on the BRICS spirit of openness, inclusiveness, win-win cooperation, promote high-quality development of greater BRICS cooperation, and jointly work for a more just and equitable global governance system. Does that sound like China? No, it doesn't, right? So what they're doing is they're mad because they are losing face. Now, if you go back 2 years to the BRICS symposium, the one that started in Durban, South Africa a couple years ago, what was Putin's opening statement then to the world? He said, we're going to de-dollarize the world. It's our objective and it's irreversible. Have they been successful in that so far? Well, what's the dollar done so far year to date? It's down over 10%. So I would say the demand for the dollar is diminishing rapidly. I mean, literally, this is supposed to be the stable currency of the world. Well, when you look at the amount of stimulus money and debt and unrelenting printing, right? It's like, oh, of course, nobody's going to want that, right? So I mean, I wouldn't. So what is a way that Trump could actually counterbalance that, right? And you're going to see people on both sides argue for and against this, right? But with the issuance of like the stablecoin bill and the Genius Act and all these things, right? It's like we are going to actually issue stablecoin, which is a currency-backed token on the blockchain, right? So you can have a decentralized version of that, or you can have central bank digital currency, which is all about command and control with the government in charge of everything that you buy and sell and the source of funds and use of funds. And if they don't like you because of your race, your political ideology, your religious ideology, whatever, they can cut you off. This is your digital social profile, your social credit score, right? Nobody wants that. That's Big Brother in your bank account. So going to the decentralized blockchain, it's digital, right? Which is what a lot of people hate, but he's created demand for the US dollar where there wasn't one before, right? In the decentralized blockchain. So this is what China and Russia are actually pretty ticked about. It's just like, wait a second. We want to be the world's reserve currency. We want to bring to the world our system where the BRICS common currency replaces the US dollar. And what did Trump just do? He basically said the stablecoin, which is backed by the US dollar, and through these bills that were signed, you've now got the USDC, Circle's version of a stablecoin backed by the US dollar, Tether's USDT, Trump's World Liberty USD1, PayPal, Gemini, Ripple's version. They all have the US dollar that's attached to a token. Well, that's creating demand for a dollar that was sinking like a ship because of government spending that's out of control, because of high taxation, because of a faltering economy after the Biden administration. And so it's who's going to want the BRICS currency, right? Let's just say the BRICS did have a stable coin backed by their currency. Who would want it, right? Nobody trusts most of the countries in the BRICS nations. Their economies are falling apart. This is why the US dollar is over 90% of stablecoin issuances around the world. So what Trump is doing, in my opinion, is creating demand for a currency where there wasn't any before, because it's not just spending right now. It goes back decades or 100 years of unrelenting printing of money to provide stimulus for everything under the sun, and that's devalued our dollar.
Let's be honest, most coffee gives you like a quick hit. It leaves you feeling jittery, it leaves you feeling foggy, and then you're reaching for another cup or two before lunchtime even comes around. But what if your coffee actually did something for your health? Wouldn't that be novel? Well, Rejuvenate Coffee is science-backed coffee with real Arabica beans infused with CAAKG, a compound shown to support cellular energy, metabolism, even healthy aging. It's not a gimmick and it's not trendy. It's built for people who take their health seriously, who want to show up with focus and strength every single day. If you care about how you feel and how you feel 10 years from now, this is your coffee. So go to 1775coffee.com and use the code REDACTED right now to order your Rejuvenate coffee today. Fuel your body, protect your future, Rejuvenate.
It doesn't address the root causes of the things that you just said, devalue our dollar, like expansive government and government spending and war spending and whatnot. So wouldn't this catch up with the stablecoin philosophy? Wouldn't that eventually put us in the same place?
Yes, eventually, because what you have to do is look at both sides of the balance sheet, right? You've got the revenue, the demand for the dollar on one side, and you've got the spending on the other side, right? So if you don't ultimately slow down the spending, you'll ultimately sink the ship down the road. This is what's not happening right now. They are not slowing down the spending train. They're spending like drunken sailors. No offense to drunken sailors, right? But they're spending way more than them. But creating the demand for the dollar through the stablecoin is actually going to actually lengthen and prolong the time. Hopefully that demand will overcome the spending. But if you don't cut spending, I don't care how much money you make, ultimately the cost of servicing that debt will sink the ship eventually.
Right. Calvin Coolidge famously said, every dollar I spend is something that the American people then have to work harder for. It is a tax on the working class. And what keeps me up at night is that will continue, and we are paying to kill people and to lecture the world about DEI and things like that. And it is making the American worker's life harder. And I just can't stomach it. I want to punch the camera, but not you. I'm not mad at you.
And Putin's representative, what did he say? He said that there's this event down the road to devalue the US dollar and sink everybody's ship that's involved in crypto and in gold, right? So when you look at both the rapid advancement of crypto and gold and silver, right? All what does that signify? They're completely different things. One is tangible, one is digital, but fundamentally they're driven by the same issue, which is we don't trust the government. We don't trust our banking system. We want out. We want out of the Federal Reserve System, and they're going into crypto or into physical gold and silver, which is why gold's up 39% year to date, silver's up 42% year to date. Much of the crypto is up much higher than that. But that, to me, that is a bigger underlying issue. It's the fundamental driver in people's psyches, right? It's in their head, this thing, I don't trust what's been. I want something that's new because I don't trust the government. I don't trust the banks. I want to go this route, right? So if you go digital money, which, let's face it, Clayton, Natalie, we're going to digital money, whether we like it or not. Are you going to want central bank digital currency, which is complete government control, or something that's more private, which is decentralized blockchain? Now, pros and cons to all of these things, right? I'm a big, huge proponent of tangible assets like gold and silver because there really is no manipulation to supply in the sense of, yeah, you can short it, you can manipulate it for a while, but ultimately, when places like Sony, Samsung, LG, Boeing, Lockheed Martin, all these solar providers need silver or metals to actually build something, they don't ultimately care what the cost is. So they're going to drive the price up because supply is diminishing. It's going away. And they're just going to pass that on to the consumer. So I like tangible assets a lot. And when you look at where we are headed, I think the days are numbered for central banking as we know it, for fiat-based money creation that's just printed at whim. This is why what you addressed earlier about France, this is one of the main reasons why a socialist France, where you pay higher taxes your whole life to get a retirement, they're saying, well, we're going to have austerity measures. You're not going to be able to get your retirement right now, or we're going to diminish your benefits. Ultimately, the people act almost like a parasite on the government money. When the government runs out of money, then you're going to have conflict and riots and protests and looting and everything else.
Exactly. And as someone in our chat just said, I don't trust I don't trust blockchain and central bank digital currencies and all of this. When the power goes out, you can't get your money. I'd much rather trust gold and silver for sure.
It's a very true
we're watching statement. Yeah, we're going to see what happens with this BRICS meeting, and Scott Benson, the Treasury Secretary, also just coming out saying they're ready to tank Russia's economy in response. So yeah, we are in this.
Yeah. Gosh, no, I really liked your contribution here. I just want this revolution to happen already. I'm mad.
It's happening.
And I'm impatient.
It's happening.
Hey,
okay.
Before we let you go, we had some dissent in the chat room saying, hey, we like Dr. Elliott, but I think he's wrong on the world stage right now that like Russia's economy is not collapsing and China's economy is not is fine. But I agree with you on China. I think there's a lot of trouble in the Chinese economy that's not being talked about. But Russia, if GDP growing, where do you come down on that? It seems, are you saying both of them, Brazil, India, they're all sort of collapsing on the BRICS side?
They're none of them are doing good, and what they want is cooperation together, right? So what Russia needs to really be successful is exploding oil prices, right? So here's where OPEC gets involved, and many of the OPEC producing nations are now part of BRICS, or at least periphery countries as part of BRICS. So what do they do sometimes? It's like, well, boy, we really want to get to the West. We're going to cut production. to cause the prices to go up. But then when they cut production, they really hurt themselves, right? So here's where Russia is so heavily or just massively dependent on oil, gas, other raw materials. And so when Trump puts tariffs on Russia, on all of these raw materials and these goods, it impacts them greatly. So I would disagree with that. I think Russia's economy is impacted greatly by tariffs, which is why they push back a lot, right? They're pushing back right now because they want fairness and they want multinational cooperation rather than this unilateral type trade that they view Trump as trying to overtake the world. Trump was just trying to level the playing field because it's been so unfair for so long that now you've got the global rhetoric happening that this is unfair. Trump is taking advantage of the rest of the world, where he's just trying to get us back to an equal playing field.
Yeah. Yeah, I think this is one of the biggest stories of our time, and it's being ignored by the mainstream media. BRICS holds an emergency meeting in Brazil, and like very few people are talking about it. This is a huge story. Yeah. Dr. Elie, great to see you. Thank you so much for joining us here. We really appreciate it.
It's my pleasure.